Hi.
Hi all. Page 266, Ray Franz, In Search of Christian Freedom. Ray continues with highlighting the governing body responses to the survey taken, which after all had been commissioned by the governing body itself, the survey to all branch committees, which would tap into the thoughts of local elders as well as brothers being asked to go to jail as to why they were going and what issue. Did they see clearly why they were having to refuse alternative service? Ray goes on, yet many of the branch committee men had brought up serious points from the Bible, and these had neither been refuted nor clearly answered, at least not to the satisfaction of the majority of the governing body members themselves, as subsequent voting revealed. Ted Jaracz, however, urged that we should ask ourselves, quote, just how much of a problem is it all over the world, unquote, inasmuch as the survey showed that the majority of the countries had no provision for alternative service. Acknowledging that perhaps, quote, 100 or so are disfellowshipped, unquote, as a result of the existing policy, he asked, quote, what of all the other brothers in the worldwide organization who rejected alternative service, and what of the suffering already undergone by those who took such a stand, end of quote. This question would seem to say that because a past wrong view caused considerable suffering, this would somehow justify the continuance of the wrong view and the suffering it would continue to produce. It exemplifies how traditional policies can, in the minds of some, override both scripture and logic. As a further reason for maintaining the policy that led to this suffering, he, that is Ted Jaracz, added, quote, if we allow the brothers this latitude, we will have serious problems, similar to those where latitude is shown in matters of employment, end of quote. In reality, the only problems that latitude in matters of employment had produced were problems for those seeking to maintain tight control over the activities of fellow Christians. Whatever risk there might be was not truly to the morality or Christian integrity of the congregation. What was at risk was the exercise of ecclesiastical authority.
Indicative of this, the Society's president, Franz, also expressed doubt as to the weight to be given to the expressions of the branch committee members. He reminded the body that he had not voted in favor of the worldwide survey, and then, sharply increasing the force of his tone, asked, where does all this information come from anyway? Does it come from the top down or from the bottom up? He said that we should not build our decisions around the situations found in different countries. As noted, this phrase regarding top and bottom was not new to me. As recently as 1971, in a Watchtower article, Franz had used it along with reference to the rank and file members of the organization. But the whole tone of the discussion was extremely upsetting to me, particularly such expressions as, if we allow the brothers this latitude. When recognized by Chairman Klein, I reminded the members that it was the governing body's decision to write the branch committee members, that those men were among the most respected elders in their respective countries, and if we could not give weight to their expressions, then to whose expressions could we do so? I felt compelled to add that my understanding was that we considered ourselves as a brotherhood and had no reason to look on ourselves as the top of anything, and that we should even find the concept personally repelling.
Indeed.
Goodness, that probably didn't go over well with Fred.
Well, this is not what you imagine when you think of the governing body sessions. When you're a rank and file witness, you don't think of it this way. You think of these men deep in study and prayer together and coming to these consensus.
In service. I guess we should really think that this kind of thing would happen with any kind of positioning of people, making them feel like they are the top, right? Because we saw the same thing Jesus had to deal with his 12 with this same issue.
Yeah.
They kept saying, "Who's the greatest among us? Who should sit at his right hand? Like, who should be his first members?" So this was a problem among them, and they were being trained personally by Jesus to serve the future congregation.
It's a similar
they had
dynamic.
That problem, yeah.
Similar dynamic in that Christ had chosen 12 out of the thousands of followers. So yeah, you tend to think a lot of yourself
Yeah.
as time went on and the crowds grew. But it brought to mind this famous text, which is in Matthew 20, verses 24 to 28, the situation being where somehow John and James managed to get their mother to go and ask Jesus to give them special privileges in the kingdom, to sit on his right and his left in the kingdom. And it says, when the 10 others, that is the others of the 12, heard about it, they became indignant at the two brothers. But Jesus called them to him and said, "You know that the rulers of the nations lord it over them, and the great men wield authority over them. This must not be the way among you. But whoever wants to become great among you must be your minister or servant," many Bibles say. "And whoever wants to be first among you must be your slave, just as the Son of Man came, not to be ministered to or served, but to minister and to give his life as a ransom in exchange for many." You don't get that sense from the governing body here, that they think they're serving the brothers.
Yeah.
So, in the next segment, the vote, the final outcome.